Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Chapter 21. There seem to be many mutated creatures in this lake. As the raft was speeding all the way, I noticed that the water under the raft was so clear, and from time to time there were huge giant fishes gliding across the bottom of the raft, which made her feel slightly terrified. The bottom of the water and the sky are still weak links that are difficult for human beings to reach. Human beings can't exert their normal combat power at the bottom of the water. Their combat power is greatly reduced, and they are in danger of drowning. Once the mutated creatures at the bottom of the lake are really attracted to attack, it is very likely that they will be in danger. Fortunately, the mutated creatures at the bottom of the lake didn't take the initiative to attack them, so it was safe and sound. After a while, the three of them finally reached the shore of the lake safely. On the shore, Ryukin, dressed in white, was waiting on the shore of the lake. Seeing the three of them appear, Ryukin breathed a sigh of relief, and shouted, "Why have you been here for so long? I thought you..." Seeing her reddened eyes and ready to cry expression, Jong Hung couldn't help feeling soft, and said, "I've encountered a little trouble, but it's okay, don't you think we're all right?" Seeing that the three of them seemed to be all right, Ryukin felt relieved and said, "Don't be so brave next time. You know the danger and go anyway, and your few lives are not enough, that? Do you understand?" Jong Hung jumped onto the shore, nodded again and again, and said, I understand, I will definitely not next time." Suyufei enviously said, "Sister Yukin, the relationship between you is really good." Ryukin wiped the corners of her eyes, broke through her tears and said with a smile, "What kind of feelings are there? I'm just afraid that he will die. No one will take me out of this damn forest." Jong Hung said, with a dry smile, "Just kidding, how could I fail? Come on, I will take you to continue leveling." After a simple sensation, Jong Hung waved his sleeves and decided to take the three of them to leveling. After this battle, Jong Hung's strength can be said to have skyrocketed again, especially the rewarded A-level swordsmanship proficiency talent, which instantly increased his strength by more than half, killing Lord-level creatures with ease. Unknowingly, the four of them killed each other from daytime to evening in the area of the icy lake. As the sun went down, everyone stopped fighting. After an afternoon of hard work, Jong Hung steadily rose to level 8, all the brothers and sisters of the Su family also rose to level 7, even Ryukin also rose to level 5, and his strength soared. Just as everyone was counting the harvest, the vast and majestic voice suddenly sounded again between the heaven and the earth. Spiritual energy recovery is about to enter the third stage, chants from heaven. In a quarter of an hour, countless lights of chants will pierce the sky and descend between the heavens and the earth. Any creature can obtain them. However, when chances descend from the sky, they will also be accompanied by killings. Endless alien monsters will descend on the heavens and the earth 3 days later. Please prepare for the catastrophe, the light of chance and the extraterrestrial strange demon. Suyufei's face changed slightly, and she looked up at the void. The mutation of the beast caused by the burst of spiritual energy is a disaster in itself. The appearance of the strange monsters from the sky, I am afraid it will be another catastrophe. Sujianhee took a deep breath and said slowly, "But danger is often accompanied by opportunities. Once you get a certain opportunity, it is not impossible to use it to counterattack. Therefore, this is not only a crisis, a catastrophe, but also an opportunity." "An opportunity?" Jong Hung said in a deep voice. As the voice said, "When the catastrophe begins, all living beings in the heavens will fall into the immeasurable catastrophe, and no one can escape. If you want to get rid of this situation, you must live in response to the catastrophe. Keep this killing in front of you." As he said that, he looked at Sujianhee and said, "The person who should be robbed may be you, it may be me, or it may be anyone. In short, no matter what, we must always make ourselves stronger, so that we can have enough with the strength to deal with this immeasurable massacre." Sujianhee nodded and said, "I understand what you mean. What are your plans?" Jong Hung shook his head and said, I don't know how this opportunity will appear, but no matter what, I will strive for the greatest opportunity that is the most sure, so that I can grasp myself, and you will do the same in this way. If you are sure, you must strive for the greatest opportunity so as not to fall behind." Sujianhee took a deep breath, nodded and said, "I understand, I will do my best." Jong Hung continued, "Now everyone uses everything that can be used. and improves everything that can be improved, and try to keep themselves in the peak state to deal with the next unexpected situation. In a word, opportunities are important, and life is also important. Only once, don't try to be brave. Good. Everyone nodded in agreement. Zhang Heng didn't hesitate, and immediately swallowed all the harvested crystal cores that could be used, and threw all the excess to the Su brothers and sisters and Liu Yukin. It is the most irrational thing to keep secrets at this critical time, and only by making the best use of everything can we maximize the benefits. After using up the crystal cores, Zhang Heng clicked on the reputation exchange system again, and exchanged 6 E-level qualification medicines one after another. After bottle of medicine, the progress of E-qualification directly increased to 95%. It seems that 10 bottles and 1 bottle are indispensable. Shaking his head helplessly, Zhang Heng exchanged another bottle. Immediately, the system prompted that his aptitude had been promoted to D level. Looking at the remaining prestige points, Zhang Heng knew that the remaining prestige would definitely not reach the next level, so he had to give up temporarily. Then he took out the marrow washing pill. After taking a deep breath, Zhang Heng swallowed it directly. A fire-like feeling surged all over his body, and Zhang Heng felt that his whole body seemed to have undergone a strange cleansing, and he felt an incomparably cleansing feeling all over his body. Ding! Congratulations on successfully taking the swipe pill. Your qualification has been successfully upgraded to C level. Zhang Heng breathed a sigh of relief. It was a success. As a result, his aptitude has jumped 2 extremes, and he is no longer a poor E rank. Then Zhang Heng opened the lottery system again. After an afternoon of fighting, he had killed 1,075 elite creatures and 21 lord creatures. In other words, he now has 10 chances to draw a lottery. At that moment, he chose the lottery without hesitation. Ding! The lucky wheel draw is successful. Congratulations to the host for drawing a D-level reward, a bottle of D-level power enhancing potion, D-level strength enhancement potion. It can permanently increase the strength potential by 5 points, and the upper limit of use is 20 bottles. Although it is the worst reward, no matter how many attribute potentials there are. I don't think there are many. Continue. Ding! The lucky wheel draw is successful. Congratulations to the host for drawing a C-level reward, First Order Spiritual Weapon, Bronze Level Linjian Gauntlet Grade, Tier 1 Spirit Artifact, Bronze Rank Attribute, plus 25 Defense plus 8 Strength. Additional status, can increase the wearer's strength potential by 5%. Zhang Heng was very surprised. This thing is very good, equivalent to an E-level strength talent. After directly equipping it, continue. Chapter 22. Ding! The lucky draw is successful. Congratulations to the host for drawing a D-level reward, a bottle of D-level agility enhancement potion. Continue. Ding! The lucky wheel draw is successful. Congratulations to the host for drawing a D-level reward, a bottle of D-level spiritual strengthening potion. Ding! The lucky wheel draw is successful. Congratulations to the host for drawing a D-level reward, a bottle of D-level physique strengthening potion. Ding! The lucky wheel draw is successful. Congratulations to the host for drawing a D-level reward, a bottle of D-level power enhancing potion. It was 4 D-level rewards in a row, which made Zhang Heng frown. It seems that it was the first time to draw A-level extreme prison breaker and used up all the good luck. Continue. Ding! The lucky wheel draw is successful. Congratulations to the host for drawing a B-level reward, a B-level martial arts Liuyanbyo flowing cloud steps, B grade, cultivation technique grade, mysterious grade, low grade. Explanation of the exercise. This footwork comes from the ancient Liuyun Jianzong. There are a total of 7,749 ways to change the footwork. After the practice reaches a great level, the footwork is like flowing clouds and flowing water, with infinite uses. Cultivation effect. During the use of footwork, speed plus 45%, dodge plus 20%. In the first level state, the first 7 footwork changes can be performed. Consumes 10 points of spiritual energy per second, lasts for 30 seconds, and cools down for 45 seconds. Nice one. Zhang Heng clicked to learn without hesitation. Continue. Ding! The lucky wheel draw is successful. Congratulations to the host for drawing a C-level reward, First Order Spiritual Weapon, Bronze Level Lingfeng Sword Grade, Tier 1 Spirit Artifact, Bronze Rank Attribute, Attack plus 72, Agility plus 10 Characteristic, Edge Blade. Use aura to condense the edge, which can increase the user's ignoring defense damage by 5%. Equipment requirements: Level 1. It turned out to be a sword. Although its attributes were lower than Liukin's Linkshu sword, it was still a spiritual weapon, much stronger than Fan Tai. Continue. Ding, the lucky wheel draw is successful. Congratulations to the host for drawing a B-level reward. First order spiritual weapon silver level Linkshu sword. Zhang Heng was so surprised that he won 2 yuan in a row, and Ling Suejian struck again. Good. Now there are brothers and sisters. Continue. Ding, the lucky wheel draw is successful. Congratulations to the host for drawing a C-level reward. Liuyun sword art flowing cloud swordsmanship, Class C, cultivation method grade, Huang rank middle grade. Explanation of the exercise: this exercise is the compulsory entry-level swordsmanship of the ancient sect Liuyun Jianzong. There are 3 swordsmanship styles. One of the righteous swordsmanship. Currently, this technique is the first level, and only the first form can be used in this level. The first style, Liuyun. When using this sword technique, the speed of the sword plus 20%, the speed of movement plus 20%, can cause basic attack * 230% damage, consume 100 points of spiritual power. Cooldown time 15 seconds. This time, the 10 lucky draw chances have all been used up. Zhang Heng was also quite helpless in his heart. It seemed that he had no chance to obtain the A-level Liu Guanjing Sheijian. After closing the lottery drawing interface, he threw Ling Feng's sword and Linkshu sword to Su Yufei and Su Jianhe respectively. The two were surprised when they received the sword. This is, Su Yufei said in surprise. This is a spiritual weapon, which is rewarded by the system. I already have it, and I will give you the extra ones. It seems that your luck is very good. In addition to some F-level skills rewarded by the upgrade, I have only triggered the mission twice, and I have rewarded 2 bottles of potential enhancement potions. Su Yufei said enviously. After Su Jianhe looked at the attribute, he didn't refuse, and said, I'll borrow it from you first. Zhang Heng laughed and said, what do you say to thank you, brothers? Just take it. In this way, Zhang Heng's background is also exhausted, quietly waiting for the opportunity to come. A moment later, there was a sudden roar in the depths of the sky, and the sky that had been dimmed due to the setting sun suddenly burst into divine light. In the blink of an eye, countless points of light pierced the sky like meteors from the depths of the void, and fell from the sky. At this moment, almost the whole world is boiling. Each of the clusters of star dots like rain of light represents an opportunity. With so many opportunities, it is no exaggeration to call them endless. Zhang Heng and others were also completely stunned by this magnificent sight. They had thought about the way this opportunity would appear, but they didn't expect it to come so directly and so spectacularly. But soon they also found the difference in these points of light. The first is the size of the light spot. The larger the light spot also means the greater the opportunity. The second is the color. The brighter the color, the greater the chance. In the blink of an eye, Zhang Heng discovered thousands of light spots falling towards this area of Linhai City. Among them, the largest, brightest, and most dazzling is a strange light that is as huge as a disc, shining with colorful colors. Zhang Heng stared at this light of opportunity without hesitation, but this light is indeed more than 10 kilometers away from the icy lake. Su Jianhe and the others also stared at the direction where the light fell, but they all fell silent after seeing the distance. At such an urgent moment, it is absolutely unwise to waste time on the way. Zhang Heng didn't care what he said, and suddenly jumped up behind him, saying, I'll go first. Good luck to everyone. As soon as the words finished, Zhang Heng's figure flew across the sky like a rock. Su Yufei was dumbfounded, and said, is this lightness kung fu, or flying in the air? There is such a powerful lightness kung fu in this world. Su Jianhe said, no matter what it is, we don't have time to delay. I'll go first. You can choose one of them. Good. Su Yufei and Liukin nodded one after another. After carefully selecting one of them, they cast them in various directions. At this moment, Zhang Heng felt the excitement of swimming in the world. The endless wind in the void slid across the edge of his body like silk, hardly bringing him a trace of resistance. Not only that, he seems to be able to move against the wind, using the wind to accelerate, turn, and change tracks. All in all, at this moment, he seemed to have completely escaped the gravity of the Earth's center, catching the wind and soaring into the void. This is the talent, Flying? And it's a B-level talent? Zhang Heng couldn't help but rejoice in his heart. If he hadn't acquired this talent, he might never have experienced the pleasure of traveling through the void in his life. The flying speed of the B-level flying talent is also astonishingly fast, far exceeding that of ordinary mutated birds, and they can move hundreds of meters in just a few breaths. Calculated at this speed, the distance of more than 10 kilometers is only a short 2 or 3 minutes. In a blink of an eye, the disc-like multicolored light of opportunity fell into the earth like a meteor. The imagined roar of the earth did not appear, but a large area of colorful light bloomed where it landed, illuminating a distance of several miles. It's a chance. A great chance. It fell on us. It's great. This heaven-defying opportunity is mine. Don't snatch it from anyone. One after another excited voices crazily came from this area. It was only then that Zhang Heng discovered that this chance landed in an area not far from a small town. There are obviously many survivors in this small town, and almost all of them are instantly attracted by this dazzling light. Just as countless people in the town were frantically rushing towards the place where the dazzling light fell, Zhang Heng also sensed several unusual figures frantically projecting towards the place where the light was, the most striking of which was a pair of wings, a giant winged rock bird tens of meters long. Chapter 23. The moment he saw the gigantic day pen with giant wings, Zhang Heng was also shocked. There is no doubt that this giant winged rock is definitely far superior to the existence of the two-headed vulture, and it is an absolute sky-dominant bird. If there is no accident, this rock will be his biggest competitor in this opportunity competition. Zhang Heng took a deep breath. Although his opponent was strong, he was not weak either, so there was absolutely no reason to hand over to others, let alone the opponent was a bird. With a movement of his body, Zhang Heng immediately activated the wind walk, and the speed of Yakong accelerated again. Great! I see it! I see that colorful light. On the ground, a 40-year-old man screamed wildly with excitement, and stretched out his hand to poke into the colorful ball of light. Zhang Heng was still a little away from here. Seeing this person touching this object, he couldn't help but feel his heart sink. But at this moment, a sharp black light pierced through the void, darting towards the head of this person like lightning. In the blink of an eye, the man's head fell silently, blood spilling all over the ground. Who killed Laozu? A few people nearby were shocked, but the rest ignored it and rushed towards the colorful light like crazy. Gah! But at this moment, a giant frog suddenly appeared in front of everyone. Its huge and long and narrow tongue swept across the air. Suddenly, several humans screamed in horror and were swallowed in the blink of an eye. Good frog. The people who found this frog suddenly turned pale with fright. Judging from the size alone, this frog is 7 or 8 meters tall, bigger than a small house, and it can definitely be called a giant. Hiss. Not far away, another colorful giant snake poked its head out. Its huge eyes stared at the giant frog without blinking, as if warning the giant frog not to get close to the colorful light ball. The giant frog didn't care about the multicolored giant snake. It leapt forward and quickly jumped towards the ball of light. At the same time as it jumped, its huge tongue swept across the air, and swept towards the multicolored light ball. However, the giant snake got angry instantly. Its tail buzzed in the void, and instantly slammed into the huge frog's body. Boom! The huge impact force made the whole earth tremble, and the airwaves set off caused all the nearby humans to be blown away or pushed back involuntarily. Monster? What a big monster! Run! Everyone backed away in horror. In front of such terrifying mutated creatures, the power of human beings appears so insignificant. In a blink of an eye, the giant colorful snake and the giant frog had already fought fiercely together, causing the entire earth to tremble. But at this moment, a giant bat also turned into a whirlwind black shadow and suddenly rushed out of the darkness, rushing towards the colorful light ball crazily. Seeing that the claws of the giant bat were about to grab the colorful light ball, there was a huge scream in the void. In the blink of an eye, nearly 10 black flying feathers pierced the sky. Fii's speed was as fast as a sharp sword, so fast that it was hard to tell with the naked eye. The giant bat also seemed to have sensed the danger, and after it let out a silent scream in the void, its whole body suddenly turned into a black shadow and dissipated into the void. However, although the giant bat dodged fast enough, it failed to get the colorful light ball. Zhang Heng's heart sank. The battle for chance was indeed more intense than imagined. There is no doubt that the colorful giant snakes, giant frogs, and giant bats that appeared at this time are at least king-level creatures, and the giant winged roc may be even more king-level creatures. In a blink of an eye, the giant winged roc stepped into this area first, and saw its figure spread out, and instantly swept towards the colorful light ball at a speed so fast that it was difficult to distinguish with the naked eye. The giant snake and the giant frog also seemed to have noticed the appearance of the giant roc, and they stopped fighting one after another, and at the same time attacked the figure of the giant roc that was too fast to distinguish. The giant snake's tail hummed and vibrated, and the entire void trembled violently. There was no doubt about the horror of the power contained in it. The giant frog also croaked, and opened its mouth to spit out a mouthful of saliva, emitting a green light in the void. But at this moment, a strange black light appeared from the figure of the giant roc, instantly blocked the thunder strike of the giant tail, and at the same time blocked the emerald green venom. Boom! A huge shock came out, and the snake's tail was directly sent flying, drawing a huge arc in the void. At this moment, the giant frog suddenly opened its mouth and flicked its tongue quickly, and it actually entangled the colorful light ball in advance at the moment when the giant pang touched the colorful light ball. After a loud roar, the colorful light ball was directly pulled up by the giant frog, and quickly threw it towards its mouth. But at this moment, a black light flashed across, and the tongue of the giant frog was divided into two by a black light. It was the giant bat. In an instant, the giant frog let out a terrifying howl in pain. The figure of the giant bat appeared from the darkness again, darting towards the colorful light ball like lightning. But at this moment, the huge wings of the giant roc swept across the sky, as if covering the clouds and the sun, and instantly swept the giant bat tens of meters away. At this time, the giant snake also slowed down, opened its bloody mouth and bit down on the other wing of the giant pang. Until this moment, Zhang Heng finally arrived in the void, appearing in the fierce competition among several king-level creatures. Zhang Heng narrowed his eyes slightly, leaped into the air without hesitation, and flew towards the huge wings of the giant pang that covered the colorful light ball. Clang! I saw a flash of sword light in the void, as if cutting through the sky. It slashed towards the giant wing. The giant roc seemed to have sensed the danger as well. The weird black light on its wings appeared again, and at the same time it violently flung itself into the void. However, that black light could not stop Zhan Yu's sword light at all. It penetrated the black light on the giant wings in an instant, and chopped on the giant wings. After a sound like metal and iron clanging came out, a blood stain with deep bones appeared on the giant wing, and a large piece of feathers and blood swayed in the air. The giant roc suddenly let out a stern howl, rolled up its wings and slashed at Zhang Heng's figure. However, at this time, the giant snake's fangs had already bit the other end of the giant roc, and the huge and sharp teeth also broke through the defense of the black light, biting into the flesh and blood of the wings. The terrifying poison of the giant snake immediately penetrated into the giant roc's wings, causing it to scream again. Boom! In an instant, the black light on Zhu Peng's body erupted like a torrent, and the teeth bitten by the giant snake were instantly blown away. Not only that, the giant snake's huge body was also blown away. At this moment, Zhang Heng also felt an incomparable force emanating from the black light. If he was hit, he would either die or be disabled. As soon as he gritted his teeth, Zhang Heng held Zanyu in his left hand without hesitation, while his right hand charged in the air, and the punching energy was formed in an instant, turning into a huge phantom of punching power, and the whole void seemed to tremble with it. But it was too late to accumulate power to the peak. The moment the black light was about to sweep away, the fist smashed down on the giant wings and the black light in an instant. Just here a deafening loud noise spread throughout the sky. The giant roc let out a miserable howl again, and the black light that burst out from its wings was smashed to pieces by Zhang Heng's punch, and the injured part was hit hard again by the punch and the air blast. At this time, Zhang Heng finally saw the figure of the colorful light ball. Chapter 24 Boom! The giant bat turned into a black shadow like nothingness again with a bang, and rushed towards the light ball at a speed that was difficult to distinguish with the naked eye. There was a trace of coldness in Zhang Heng's eyes. Zhan Yu returned to his hand again, and a Liuyun swordsmanship launched a thunderous blow to the black shadow like a stream of light. In an instant, a shrill scream pierced the sky, and the black shadow was split into two under Zhan Yu's sword light. In a blink of an eye, the giant bat fell to the ground with a wailing sound, and most of its right wing had disappeared, leaving a bloody wound. Gah! At this moment, the giant frog suddenly spewed a mouthful of emerald green saliva at Zhang Heng, filling the entire void with an extremely stench. Zhang Heng's eyes turned cold. This frog has already been included in Zhang Heng's must-kill ranks. Although the other big creatures were hateful, they didn't kill humans in front of him after all, and this frog not only killed, but also swallowed humans alive. No one can bear this situation. Lai Yinbu, blast body technique. The two major martial arts were launched at the same time, and Zhang Heng's figure was like a whirlwind, leaving the spot in an instant and falling in front of the colorful light ball. Zhu Peng sensed that Zhang Heng was about to get the multicolored light ball, and with a sharp roar, he released dozens of flying feathers to attack Zhang Heng like lightning. Feiya's attack was so strong that the air was almost torn apart by it. In terms of sharpness, it actually made Zhang Heng feel that he was not much weaker than Zhan Yu. Zhang Heng took a deep breath and had no choice but to back away from the colorful light ball. If there is even the slightest hesitation, you will definitely be hit by Feiya. In this kind of fierce battle, if you are slightly injured, you will be out immediately. There is no doubt that the giant bat is out, and defeat is only a matter of time. But the giant snake, the giant frog, and the giant rock still have the power to fight, so it is not yet known who will win the battle. As soon as Zhang Heng backed away, the frog suddenly croaked, and stuck out an incomparably huge tongue again, and rolled towards Zhang Heng's direction in the air. A fierce light flashed in Zhang Heng's eyes. Since this giant frog wants to die, it will take you first. Naturally, he didn't dare to let the giant frog's tongue roll easily, because the tongue was full of barbs, and it must be extremely poisonous. Once it was contaminated, it would surely die. Dodge this sweep dangerously. Zhang Heng's eyes were full of light. Soul shock? The invisible soul attack is even weirder than the ultrasonic attack of giant bats. The giant frog croaked suddenly, and its whole soul was stirred up, and it froze for a second or two. Flame knife? Zhang Heng cut the moon into the sky, and a flaming blade pierced into the void and fell into the giant frog's mouth. Knuckle punch? He punched out with his left hand, and the huge punch broke through the sky, and it also blasted into the mouth of the giant frog without any tricks. Under the blessing of Zhang Heng's powerful attributes, the two heavy blows released an astonishing power. Although it might not be able to kill this frog in seconds, it is absolutely no problem for it to suffer a big loss. Sure enough, after the giant frog uttered a scream, its whole body turned a strange blood red, and then spit out a mouthful of emerald green blood under control, before falling into a state of incomparable malaise. However, the giant rock suddenly screamed, and while Zhang Heng was attacking the giant frog, a black light swept across its giant wings, and it rolled up the multicolored ball of light and was about to sweep away into the void. It didn't feel good after being injured several times in a row, especially the venom of the colorful giant snake, which caused its body to be greatly slowed and severely injured. If there is any delay, it may be damaged by it. But how can Zhang Heng let him go? Not to mention the opportunity of the colorful light ball, but only when this kind of overlord creature is strangled in the cradle can humans suffer less damage. Immediately, Zhang Heng shot again without hesitation. Soul shock? The mental power in the 5 times strengthened state is definitely one of his strongest killing moves at present, especially in terms of practicality. It is even better than the extreme prison-breaking killing fist. In an instant, the Zhu Peng's soul was greatly shaken like a giant frog, and his whole body was stuck in the void as if completely stiff. Even the colorful light ball rolled up by the black light fell down instantly. Zhang Heng rose and fell, and was about to catch the ball of light, but at this moment, a huge snake tail smashed towards him with a buzzing sound mixed with the terrifying void vibration. Zhang Heng took a deep breath, struck out the piercing fist with his left hand instantly, and the Liuyun sword technique with his right hand turned into a sky full of sword shadows. Boom! The huge shock was sent out in the void again, and the multicolored light ball was instantly knocked away by the terrifying impact, and it was thrown towards the head of the giant rock. Fortunately, the Zhu Peng has not fully recovered from the shock of the soul this time, otherwise it will definitely roll up the colorful light ball and drive away. Although Zhang Heng also received the impact of this force, his figure quickly turned in the void, and he also swept towards the light ball like a rock. In the blink of an eye, the ball of light came into his hands, and at this moment, This strange light of opportunity finally fell into his hands. However, at this moment, the giant rock suddenly opened its eyes, revealing an extremely fierce light. Cut! Zhang Heng swung Zhan Yu without hesitation, and chopped off the huge head of the Jupeng in the air. The sword light slashed down, and the shadow of blood suddenly appeared. Without any surprise, Zhan Yu's sharp edge cut through the opponent's head in an instant, stirring up a large amount of blood. However, the giant rock's defensive power is also frighteningly high, and Zhan Yu only broke a skin of it, and may not even hurt its bones. Unexpectedly, the head of this giant rock is harder than its wings. Although it was not fatally injured, Jupeng still couldn't help letting out a miserable howl. Zhang Heng didn't intend to stay at all. Soul shock strikes again. The Jupeng's head was once again subjected to an extremely violent concussion. Holding Zhan Yu with one hand, Zhang Heng turned around and stabbed quickly, piercing into the Jupeng's eye socket. In an instant, the gleaming sword blade sank into the eye socket without hindrance, and twisted into the Jupeng's head. The giant rock suddenly let out a shrill howl, and its huge body that covered the clouds and the sun instantly fell into the air and hit the ground. Congratulations on killing the 12th level quasi-legendary level mutant creature Black-Winged Rock, and gaining 10,000 upgrade energy points. Congratulations, all things have been absorbed successfully. 25 points of strength, and A-level talent skills, Void Breaker, 100 life energy Void Breaking Blade, level A. Use spiritual power to forcibly activate the sharp blade to release a piercing blow, which has strong penetrating power and lethality, causing base attack power * 300% damage, and has a certain chance of causing penetrating damage. Penetrating the damage is double the normal damage effect. This skill consumes differently according to the number of sharp blades released. The maximum number does not exceed 20, and the cooldown is 10 seconds. Congratulations on successfully killing quasi-legendary creatures and gaining 1000 regional reputation points. Chapter 25. After seeing the innate skill of Void Breaker, Zhang Heng gasped. If the Black-Winged Rock's aim could be a little higher, it would be an invincible existence. If 20 wing feathers hit a certain creature at the same time, it is estimated that even a truly legendary creature will not be able to bear it. Zhang Heng's heart moved. If Zhan Yu was used as a sharp weapon to release the Void Breaker, the power would be even more terrifying, right? I don't know if the giant snake can withstand this blow. At the moment, his gaze turned to the colorful giant snake. As if sensing Zhang Heng's gaze, the multicolored giant snake frantically wanted to retreat like a frightened bird. But how can Zhang Heng make it happen? With one palm, Zhan Yu let out a sword cry instantly, which turned into a ray of sharp edge that was hard to distinguish with the naked eye, and flashed across the snake's head in an instant. In the distance, a bloody light burst out, and the giant snake immediately collapsed to the ground, struggled violently for a few times, and then lost its life force. Congratulations to you for killing the 11th level king mutant creature, the 5 venomous giant snake, and gaining 5000 upgrade energy points. Congratulations, everything has been absorbed successfully, gaining 15 points of agility and 200 life energy. Congratulations on successfully killing the king creature and gaining 500 regional prestige points. Didn't get the talent and skills? Zhang Heng was slightly surprised. It seems that not every king creature can absorb talent. At that moment, Zhang Heng jumped down into the void, and, after finding Zhan Yu from the snake's corpse, he picked out the snake's crystal nucleus with a pick with his sword light. Then, his eyes fell on the giant frog not far away. At this time, the giant frog didn't have the prestige before, but after seeing Zhang Heng fighting against the 2 king creatures, he was so scared that he wanted to back away again and again, but before Zhang Heng gave the damage it caused was making it difficult to move its own body. Without hesitation, Zhang Heng moved Zhan Yu again, passing through the head of the giant frog. Too strong? This skill is simply a magical skill tailor-made for him. If it is possible to take back Zhan Yu in the air, wouldn't it be the art of controlling the sword? At the moment, Zhang Heng couldn't help feeling hot. It is not impossible for Ling Kong to take back Zhan Yu, because his mental power happens to have this effect, but he has never studied it. Now that he has Void Breaker, combined with the ability to control objects with mind power, it will definitely have a magical effect. Congratulations on killing the 11th level king mutant creature, the 3-eyed poisonous frog, and gaining 5000 upgrade energy points. Congratulations, successfully absorbing all things, gaining 15 points of agility, and obtaining a B-level talent skill poison immunity, 200 life energy toxic immunity, grade B immune to most poisons. Congratulations on successfully killing the king creature and gaining 500 regional prestige points. Toxic immunity? Zhang Heng was amazed. This talent is absolutely good. No wonder the poisonous frog is not afraid of the colorful giant snake at all, dare to confront it head-on. It turns out that it has a body immune to poison. However, when Zhang Heng took Zhan Yu back and looked at the giant bat again, the figure of the giant bat had disappeared without a trace, probably because of his innate ability to hide darkness. With one wing cut off, it is estimated that the giant bat will be half disabled even if it is not dead, so Zhang Heng didn't take it to heart, but turned his attention to the colorful light ball in his palm. The actual size of this ball of light is not large, but the light it emits is about the size of a basketball, making it look extremely huge. Zhang Heng stretched his hand into it, and suddenly, a notification sound came from the system. Congratulations on obtaining the colorful legendary Light of Opportunity. You can randomly obtain legendary weapons, artifacts, exercises, and Taoist rewards. You can get it after crushing the light ball. Note, there is only one chance to obtain the Light of Opportunity this time. Please choose carefully. Sure enough, Tiandao won't let people get too many opportunities, but he can choose opportunities, so it doesn't prevent him from continuing to collect. It would be good to get more for Li Yuqin, Zhang Shui, and Chen Zimo at that time. After thinking about it, Zhang Heng crushed this Light of Opportunity without hesitation. When the fate just came down from the sky, he carefully observed the colors of chance in the sky. The highest one is the colorful light, and this kind of colorful light is extremely rare, so it should belong to the highest level. In the next instant, a multicolored ray of light shone across the sky, illuminating the void for miles around. Those residents who had been scared away looked over again, as if they also wanted to see what kind of opportunity was contained in this mysterious colorful light. Congratulations on successfully using the light of chance and getting a random reward, the legendary Dao Body Void Sword Body, SSS level, Void Divine Physique, SSS level 1 of the legendary top 10 Supreme Sword Bodies. It can be officially opened only after reaching the 6th level Taigzi realm. In the next second, countless colorful rays of light merged into Zhang Heng's body, and disappeared in an instant. When he opened his eyes again, Zhang Heng looked down at himself. Although the surface was the same as before, his own feeling was completely different, as if he had been completely reborn. Opening the attribute interface, he found that his aptitude had indeed been raised to the SSS level, and his basic attributes had undergone tremendous changes. Host, Zhang Heng. Age, 18 years old. Level 8 Power Potential, 648 Agility Potential, 625 Spiritual Potential, 632 Physical Potential, 532 Free Potential, 20 Spiritual Power, 5700/8800 points Spiritual Power Strength. D grade Root Bone Qualification, Void Sword Body, SSS level, Talent, Absorption of All Things, SSS level, Void Breaking Blade, A level, Swordsmanship. Proficiency, A level, Poison Immunity, B level, Mental Power, B level, Strength Enhancement, F level, Speed Enhancement, E level, Spirit Strengthening, Level E, Defense Strengthening, Level F, Blade, Level F, Cultivation Techniques, Extreme Hellbreaking Shaking Fist, Level A, Flowing Cloud Step, Level B, Flowing Cloud Sword Art, Level C, Flame Knife, Level D, Initial Soul Swallowing Art, Level E, Gale Wind Stick Method, Level E, Wind Walk, Level E, Wind Movement, Level E, Star Rating, 37 stars. Although the Void Divine Physique requires the so-called 6th Order Taigzi realm to officially open and manifest its magic, but the fundamental changes will emerge now. SSS level Root Qualification, the data has been raised to a height of 45.5, which is absolutely against the sky. Zhang Heng knew very well that this time he made a lot of money. The light dissipated, and Zhang Heng walked towards the corpses of the giant rock and the giant frog. The crystal nucleus was naturally necessary, and he also collected a lot of blade-like feathers on the giant rock. These feathers are extremely sharp, comparable to sharp knives, and may come in handy in the future. After finishing these, Zhang Heng ignored the corpses of these ferocious beasts, turned around and jumped into the void, fleeing away. It was only then that the nearby residents dared to step up to check. Obviously, they also discovered that the person who finally got the colorful light ball was a human being, and all these fierce beasts were killed by him alone. It's hard to imagine that someone is so powerful that he can kill several big beasts in a row. This strength has already surpassed everyone's perception. However, this does not prevent them from respecting and worshipping Zhang Heng from the bottom of their hearts. If only I could be as strong as him, Brother Lin and Uncle Zhang wouldn't have to die. I will definitely become as strong as him in the future. Among the crowd, a 15 or 16-year-old girl suddenly opened her eyes, flashing with incomparably firm eyes, and said firmly. In his hand, he secretly pinched a pale golden ball of light. After speaking, she squeezed lightly, crushing the golden ball of light, turning it into little stars and entering her body. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Chapter 26, Stepping on the Void. Zhang Heng once again galloped against the wind in the void. According to the memory just now, he kept running around, trying to find the light of opportunity that had fallen everywhere. However, he was delayed for so long by those ferocious beasts just now, and coupled with the time spent on the road, he found that these opportunities had been snatched away, and most of them were snatched away by mutant creatures. Phew! Seeing this situation, Zhang Heng felt a strong sense of urgency. As the saying goes, one step behind, one step behind. If even opportunities cannot be competed with these monsters and fierce beasts, what will human beings do in the future to compete with these monsters and beasts that have gained a lot of opportunities? What's the use of relying on him alone? Therefore, Zhang Heng accelerated the speed of Yukong and searched everywhere. Not long after, Zhang Heng finally saw a bright golden light of opportunity falling on a steep cliff, which was not captured by the mutated creatures. Gold-level opportunities should be considered extremely rare, but luck is good. After getting this light of opportunity, Zhang Heng didn't stop and continued searching. One night passed quietly. After a night of searching, Zhang Heng finally found more than 20 lights of opportunity. Among them, there are only 2 golden lights of opportunity, 3 purple lights of opportunity, 5 blue lights of opportunity, and the rest are the most common green, making a total of 25. In the sky, the sun is slightly white, which means that this opportunity competition has come to an end. Maybe there is still the light of opportunity that has not been discovered, but the light of opportunity cannot be seen in the daytime, and it is like looking for a needle in a haystack, which is unrealistic, so Zhang Heng had no choice but to give up the idea of continuing to search. Zhang Heng sighed inwardly, turned around, and immediately threw himself in the direction of Linhai City. Not long after, Zhang Heng's figure fell from the void and landed at the foot of a city wall in a city. Huh? Are you Zhang Heng? Not far away, a patrolling guard seemed to have spotted him, and immediately rushed over vigilantly, but when he saw that it was Zhang Heng, he couldn't help being surprised. This person, Zhang Heng, happened to know him. He was one of Zhao Lian's subordinates. Everyone seemed to call him Zioki, but the exact name was forgotten. Zhang Heng was also surprised. You are Zioki? Are you on patrol? Xiaoqi rubbed his head and said, yes, it just so happens that it's my turn. You just came back from outside the city. Zhang Heng nodded, pondered for a while, and couldn't help asking, last night's chance fell, how much did you snatch? Snatch. Xiaoqi shook his head and sighed softly. Yesterday's chance meteor shower actually landed in our Linhai city at most 40 or 50. There were so many people and few porridge, so how could we grab it? Basically, they were taken away as soon as they landed. I can't even see them, and some of them were taken away by mutated creatures, and very few of them actually fell into the hands of humans. The ones in the city can't get it, and the ones outside the city don't dare to grab it. Some skilled people are bold enough to go to the wild to find it, but so far, few have come back smoothly. Those who haven't returned all night, most of them have fallen. Speaking of which, Xiaoqi sighed softly. Before the aura broke out, human beings were the absolute masters of this world, but after the changes in the world, the situation has turned upside down. Those birds and beasts that were once locked in cages by humans now seem to be the masters of the world overnight. It can hunt and kill human beings wantonly, causing bloody tragedies one after another. Zhang Heng narrowed his eyes slightly. The situation seemed to be worse than imagined. After thinking for a while, he said to Xiaoqi, Help me contact Captain Zhao and Battalion Commander Wu. I have urgent matters to find them. As he said that, he couldn't help asking, have Sujian He and Suyufei come back? Xiaoqi shook her head and said, I don't know about that. I just took over the job not long ago. Do you want me to check the patrol records for you? Zhang Heng shook his head and said, no need, just help me contact Captain Zhao and Battalion Commander Wu. Just say that I'm back and will wait for them in the shelter. Yes. Xiaoqi immediately responded with a military salute. At this time, Zhang Heng suddenly took out a light green ball of light from the cloth bag behind him and threw it into Xiaoqi's hand, saying, this is for you. After finishing speaking, Zhang Heng left the spot completely in a flash. The speed was so fast that even Xiaoqi, who was very close, could not notice it. When he raised his eyes again and found that Zhang Heng had disappeared, Xiaoqi was so surprised that he couldn't speak. But looking at the light ball in his hand again, Xiaoqi trembled with excitement when he heard the system prompt coming from his ear. This is the legendary light of chance? Any one of them is a great opportunity against the sky, enough to change a person's life? At this moment, Xiaoqi dared not hesitate, for fear that the light of opportunity would disappear, and immediately crushed the ball of light. A reminder that made him extremely excited came, and the green light also turned into dots of starlight and entered his body. I actually got A-level Xian rank martial arts? That's great. In a blink of an eye, Zhang Heng's figure appeared in front of the shelter. Looking from a distance, he found that Zhang Shui and Chen Zimo were squatting at the door and taking a nap. It seemed that they had been waiting here all night. These two guys still have a heart. Zhang Heng smiled slightly, stepped forward, and kicked them lightly to wake them up. Who kicked me? Chen Zimo gave a jolt and stood up suddenly. Zhang Shui also opened her eyes, but when she saw Zhang Heng's figure, she was so excited that she threw herself into Zhang Heng's arms and shouted, Brother Zhang. Zhang Heng was a little dumbfounded. Isn't this girl overreacting? After the excitement, Zhang Shui also found out about her impulsive actions. She blushed in embarrassment, let go of her arms and said, I'm sorry, Brother Zhang, I was just too excited just now. Zhang Heng shook his head and said indifferently, it's okay. Have you seen Sister Qin? Has she come back? But Zhang Shui shook her head and said, Sister Qin? Didn't she say she went out with you? Didn't she not stay with you? Zhang Heng's heart trembled, and he suddenly realized that something was wrong. Brother Zhang Heng. At this time, Zhao Lian and Wu Changjun strode out of the shelter and greeted Zhang Heng enthusiastically. Zhang Heng lost his mind to respond. His mind was full of Li Yukin's safety. It's all my fault that I was too big-hearted at the time. How could I let Sister Qin go alone to compete with those big beasts in the wild? What's wrong? Both Zhao Lian and Wu Changjun noticed Zhang Heng's strangeness, and couldn't help asking. Zhang Heng shook his head and said, it's okay, a friend of mine got lost in the wild, I need to look for her immediately. He took out the 3 light spheres from the backpack behind him and threw them all to Wu Changjun, saying, these are some lights of chance that I collected yesterday. Although they are not many, they should be helpful to you. Then he threw 2 of the purple light spheres to Zhang Shui and Chen Zimo and said, this is yours. In the end, he left only 1 golden ball of light, and sent out the rest. Although not much, it can be regarded as a little effort for human beings. Zhao Lian and Wu Changjun were shocked. The light of opportunity? This is the light of the prosperous world that opened the sky yesterday? It's a pity that the human beings didn't capture much. What Zhang Heng gave away at this time was almost equivalent to the sum of their entire city. How could they not be surprised? In addition, there are several corpses of king level and a quasi-legendary level creature near Lingxiang town. If you have the conditions, you can arrange personnel to transport them back. The flesh and materials on this monster creature should be considered a good resource. After the explanation, Zhang Heng finally settled the matter, and he didn't care about shocking the world. He suddenly rose from the sky and said, I'll go to my friends first. Zhang Shui, Zimo, if you have any news about Sister Qin, please contact me immediately. After all, Zhang Heng flew into the sky, turned around and turned into dots, and disappeared. Several people present were stunned for a while. Zhao Lian was dumbfounded and said, this is the legendary art of flying in the sky. Wu Changjun was also surprised. Could it be that he awakened his flying talent? Zhang Shui and Chen Zimo opened their mouths at the same time, but seeing Zhang Heng's disappearing figure, they didn't know what to say. Are you Zhang Shui and Chen Zimo? I know you. If you have time, you might as well come to my office. I want to know about Zhang Heng. At this moment, Wu Changjun looked at Zhang Shui and suddenly said. Naturally, Zhang Shui and Chen Zimo had no objection. After looking at each other, they nodded at the same time and said, okay. Chapter 27 In the Void, Zhang Heng anxiously dialed Li Yuqin's Tianxin number. However, due to the explosion of aura, most of the communication facilities outside the city were basically destroyed by mutant creatures. Tianxin kept reminding the other party that they were not in the service area, which made him even more anxious. After hanging up Li Yuqin's sky signal, Zhang Heng immediately called Suyufei again. Unexpectedly, this time it was connected with a beep. Zhang Heng. Suyufei's voice came immediately. Zhang Heng breathed a sigh of relief and said, how are you doing now? Have you seen Sister Qin? Us? Our situation is fine. My brother and I are doing well. We both got the opportunities we wanted, and we got a few more by the way. As for Sister Qin, I didn't see her. Has she not gone back yet? Zhang Heng trembled slightly, and hurriedly said, which direction did she go to look for opportunities yesterday? Do you still remember? Suyufei seemed to think about it for a while, and said, she seems to have gone to the north, which seems to lead to Tianfeng Ridge. Tianfeng Ridge. Zhang Heng's heart shuddered, and he quickly replied, okay, thank you. After hanging up, Zhang Heng became even more anxious. Tianfeng Ridge is a scenic spot near Binghai Lake. The terrain of this place is peculiar, and the mountain wind blows in the valley all year round. It is an excellent place to play. Now that the aura is exploding, it may become a dangerous place. Unexpectedly, Li Yuqin went to this place to seek opportunities with audacity. As soon as he turned around, Zhang Heng immediately turned around and headed towards the direction of Tianfengling in Binghai Lake. A few minutes later, Zhang Heng's figure quickly swept across the glacial lake. A group of mutated birds seemed to have spotted Zhang Heng and attacked him directly. Zhang Heng was also angry. He pulled out Zanyu and rushed into the bird to kill it. Immediately, pieces of blood rained into the void, and at the same time, there were countless stumps and broken arms. After venting this, Zhang Heng's heart calmed down a little, and he continued to head towards Tianfeng Valley. Not long after, Tianfeng Valley was in sight, but just after arriving here, the howling mountain wind in the valley suddenly carried a strong bloody aura. A bad premonition suddenly came to my heart. At the moment, Zhang Heng released his mental power without hesitation. At this time, the spiritual potential has been continuously improved, and the range covered by the spiritual power has become wider and wider, a distance of 300 to 400 meters. Under the scanning of mental power, the situation in the area of nearly 400 meters was in his mind. Zhang Heng didn't dare to omit even a single omission, and every prescription position was guaranteed to pass without a single omission. In this way, the search speed is slightly slower, but at least there will be no omissions. At this moment, Zhang Heng's spiritual sense sensed a strange cave, and the entrance of this cave was full of howling winds, which seemed extremely strange. This is. Zhang Heng's heart was shocked, and he noticed a few pieces of torn white clothes at the vent of the cave here. What Li Yuqin was wearing yesterday was a set of white casual clothes, so the hem of the clothes might be Li Yuqin's. Zhang Heng suddenly had a bad feeling. The cave here is so weird, maybe there are strange beasts hiding in it. With Li Yuqin's strength, even if he encounters a lord-level creature, he will definitely die. At this moment, Zhang Heng couldn't help blaming himself again. He shouldn't have asked Li Yuqin to go out of the wild in the first place. He knew that the wild is dangerous everywhere, but he was too conceited of his own strength, which led to this happening. No matter what, live to see people, die to see corpses. If you really dare to touch Sister Qin, I will call it the whole cave. At that moment, Zhang Heng's heart skipped a beat, and he stepped to this place without hesitation. Looking from a distance, I can see that this cave is located in the middle of a mountain with strange rocks. The entrance of the cave is about 5 or 6 meters high, and the howling wind is dozens of times stronger than that in Tianfeng Valley. Zhang Heng picked up a piece of clothes, put it in his hand and looked closely, and found that it was definitely the clothes on Li Yuqin's body. This is both good news and bad news. The good news is that Li Yukin has finally been found, but the bad news is that Li Yukin is very likely to be in danger. Although life and death are destined, and a catastrophe is coming, who can be alone? But Zhang Heng never wants the people around him to suffer such disaster. At that moment, he pulled out Zanyu on his back, and stepped into the cave without hesitation. In the cave, the wind was violent and extremely cold, and a strange feeling came to my heart. This is definitely the induction from the fierce beast, and it is not from the ordinary lord level, but the induction from the king level fierce beast. The moment Zhang Heng entered, a certain creature in the cave seemed to have sensed it immediately, and let out an extremely dull growl. Zhang Heng's mental power swept through the cave, but he couldn't find Li Yukin's figure, but he found a huge and incomparable figure of a strange beast. The remaining light is too dark and the wind is howling. Zhang Heng can't tell what kind of creature this strange beast is, but in his spiritual perception, this creature is somewhat similar to a leopard, but its body is smooth, similar to a creature like a raccoon, with a huge body, is more than 4 or 5 meters high, and looks like a hill from a distance. After finally getting close to the detection range of the system, Zhang Heng hurriedly used the system to check the information of this beast. Wind beast level, level 12 level, quasi-legendary level power, 450. Agility, 488 spirit, 475 physique, 497 talent, physical injury immunity, a level, magic injury immunity, a level, living with the wind, a level, wind control, a level, skills, wind strangling, A level, wind fox phantom, A level, furious bite, B level, star, 27 stars physical damage reduction, a level greatly reduce physical damage spell injury free, level A greatly reduces spell damage live by the wind, A level the unique talent of the windborn beast, it can live by the wind when it dies, almost immortal. Zhang Heng was stunned for a moment. This thing is not only immune to both physical and magic, but can also be resurrected. Is it so heaven-defying? After being slightly surprised, Zhang Heng frowned. No matter what, if this beast makes Li Yukin encounter danger, even if it is really immortal, he will sacrifice it to the heavens. Roar. Sensing the provocative intent from Zhang Heng, the Fengsheng beast immediately launched an attack first, and a roar resounded throughout the cave, and the wind seemed to be nearly 10 times stronger at this moment. It is the skill of this beast, Wind Strangle. Without hesitation, Zhang Heng immediately started the Gale Walk and Gale Body technique, and at the same time forcibly stepped into the cave with the flowing cloud step. With more than enough flying talent, the impact of this gust of wind on him was at least weakened by more than half, so Zhang Heng was not afraid of this blow. Zhang Heng moved against the wind, and in a blink of an eye the strangulation that passed the blow appeared not far in front of the beast. Extreme Hell-Breaking Killing Fist. The fist was as strong as a scorpion, and instantly blasted through the envelope of the gust of wind, forming a terrifying sonic boom in the void. There was only a loud noise like thunder, and the wind beast was blown away by the fist for more than 10 meters, and directly hit the rock wall behind it, causing the whole cave to tremble. Although this beast is immune to most physical damage, this punch still caused a lot of damage to it. It was also fortunate that it had this talent, otherwise this single punch would be enough to seriously injure it to the point of death. The windborn beast suddenly let out an extremely angry roar, and the whole figure suddenly seemed to melt into the wind, turning into a phantom. Zhang Heng's mental power has already locked it. Clang! A sword light cut through the void, and the strong wind tore it apart. A bloody light also appeared, and with a bang, the huge body of the Fengsheng beast hit the ground heavily. A huge sword mark was opened on the head, and the wound was bleeding profusely. Zhang Heng stepped forward, and was about to continue attacking the beast, but at this moment, he sensed a figure in the depths of the cave that seemed to be seriously injured and unconscious. Who else is it not Li Yukin? Chapter 28. Sensing Li Yukin's existence, Zhang Heng immediately flew to the depths of the cave, not caring about the wind beast. Sure enough, in a corner deep in the cave, Zhang Heng found Li Yukin lying on the ground who seemed to be in a coma. Zhang Heng immediately rushed forward to check. Fine? And vital signs? Zhang Heng's suspended heart immediately relaxed. As long as life is still alive, people are still alive. Later, Zhang Heng checked her injuries and found that her body was intact, and she didn't seem to have suffered too much damage, but her clothes were messy, and there were several wounds on her bare skin, as if she had experienced a battle. Zhang Heng quickly took off his clothes to wrap her around her body, and then hugged her. This place is located deep in the cave, and the wind volume is small, but the environment is humid and cold, which is not suitable for self-cultivation. Staying for too long will only aggravate her injury. However, the moment Zhang Heng picked her up, Li Yuqin seemed to sense something, and suddenly grabbed Zhang Heng's clothes, saying, "Is it Zhang Heng?" "It's me." Zhang Heng breathed a sigh of relief and responded quickly. Li Yuqin also seemed to let out a long breath, and murmured, "I thought I would never see you again." A warm current surged up in Zhang Heng's heart and said, "What nonsense, as long as I'm here, I won't let you, Sister Qin, suffer any harm." Li Yuqin suddenly remembered the monster in the cave, and said, "Zhang Heng, there is a very scary monster in this cave, haven't you encountered it? It hurt you?" Li Yuqin shook his head surprisingly, "No, if it really attacks me, how can I survive?" Zhang Heng couldn't help wondering, "Then what's going on?" Li Yuqin thought for a while, and said, "It should be regarded as saving me in disguise. Yesterday when I entered Tianfeng Valley to snatch the opportunity, I was attacked by a giant python. I happened to find this strange cave at a critical moment. So I rushed in a panic and woke up a terrifying monster in the cave. At first, the monster was going to attack me, but just so happened that the giant python also broke in, so the two big monsters fought, and I was scared. I kept running into the cave, and I seemed to hit my head while running, so I passed out here." Zhang Heng was speechless, and it was hard to say whether she was bold or determined. But fortunately, there was no danger at all. Zhang Heng shook his head secretly and said, "What about the light of chance? Have you snatched it yet? Did you say that ball of light?" Li Yuqin shook his head and said, "No, when I arrived, I saw that giant python swallow a golden ball of light in one gulp. The ball of light you mentioned is the light of chance, right?" Zhang Heng rubbed his forehead, cooperating with this girl. Not only did she not get the chance, she was also chased and killed by the monsters and beasts here, which is unlucky enough. If she had known, she would not have let her take this risk. After thinking about it, he took out a golden ball of light from his pocket and said, "Take this, crush it, and see what you can get." "This is..." Li Yuqin's eyes widened immediately. Zhang Heng smiled and said, "The system calls it the light of opportunity. You crush it and have a look." Li Yuqin obviously also saw the system introduction, and nodded quickly, "Okay." After finishing speaking, she gently pinched it with her hand, and a soft golden light burst out, covering her whole body immediately, and then turned into a little bit of starlight, and disappeared. "See what chance you got?" Zhang Heng hurriedly asked. Li Yuqin hurriedly checked up and down, and said, "I seem to have acquired a talent." Talent? Zhang Heng was a little disappointed. Compared with magic weapons, artifacts, exercises, Taoism, etc., his talent might be inferior. What talent? Of course, there are no absolutes in the world, and some talents may be against the sky. For example, his absorption of all things is no less weak than his acquisition of the void sword, or even worse. Li Yuqin gasped, and said in surprise, "It seems to be a very good talent. Zhang Heng, please show me." As she spoke, she displayed the talent interface window in front of Zhang Heng. Talent, Beast Familiar, S grade, Familiar Beast, S level. You can sign a contract with 5 alien beasts or spirit beasts whose level does not exceed your own level 10, and become a guardian spirit beast. Note, guardian spirit beasts can also be upgraded, grown, and advanced. Once the contract is signed, cannot be lifted for life. After reading it, Zhang Heng also opened his mouth wide, not knowing what to say. This talent is absolutely against the sky. If you take 5 little spirit beasts, as long as you swing the little brother there, what monster can't be killed? Zhang Heng's heart moved. Isn't the wind beast in this cave an excellent guardian spirit beast? It is immune to both physical and magic, and can be resurrected. It has magic attacks, body skills, and physical damage. It is simply a perfect guardian spirit beast. Zhang Heng hurriedly said, "Do you want to take that monster in the cave as a guardian spirit beast?" Li Yuqin was surprised. "That monster? Can I take it?" "If you want to collect spiritual pets and sign a contract, you must first subdue the other party." "How can you subdue the other party with Li Yuqin's strength?" Zhang Heng smiled confidently and said, "Don't worry, leave this matter to me, you just sign the contract. After all, Zhang Heng was only wearing a single shirt, pulled out Zanyu, and stepped towards the entrance of the cave again. Seemingly aware of Zhang Heng's appearance, the windborne beast immediately roared at Zhang Heng. At this time, the fatal wound on the head of the beast has healed, and its vitality is strong. Sister Qin, come out for a while, I will block the wind. With this wind, it is not easy to subdue this beast. Oh, this cave is very strange. The wind blows from the inside out. It is estimated that there is an extremely cold place deep in the bottom of the cave, and the large temperature difference with the outside world can cause such strange convection. Thinking of this, Zhang Heng couldn't help but feel his heart twitch. When he collected Jixuan Ice Flame before, the reminder of Jixuan Ice Flame said that this spirit fire grows in the extremely cold veins, so this place should also be connected to the extremely cold veins. After dealing with this beast, you can go deep into the cave to investigate. The windborne beast was extremely intelligent, and seemed to understand the meaning of Zhang Heng's words. Its expression changed drastically, and it let out another roar, and was about to charge at Zhang Heng in a flash. Zhang Heng snorted coldly, and struck out without hesitation using the ultimate prison-breaking fist. The tyrannical punching force instantly scattered the wind in the entire cave, and the sound of the sonic boom resounded through the cave, causing the cave to tremble again. Fengsheng beast received a frontal punch again, and the tyrannical punch sent it flying more than 10 meters in an instant, almost falling out of the cave. The Fengsheng beast let out a wail, opened its mouth to spit out a mouthful of blood, and its demeanor suddenly weakened a bit. With such a heavy blow, it would have been either dead or maimed for an ordinary king-level beast, but this creature was born with a different species, and it resisted forcefully. Not to mention, he didn't even look like he was seriously injured. Li Yuqin was stunned. He knew that Zhang Heng was very strong, even ridiculously strong, but he had never imagined that he could directly blast such a terrifying monster more than 10 meters away. With one punch. You know, the monster in front of you is a monster with a height of 4 or 5 meters. The body alone is the size of a small mountain. Ordinary people want to blow it away. I'm afraid he won't be able to push it while standing. At this time, Fengsheng beast suddenly dodges, trying to escape from the cave. How could Zhang Heng let it get what it wanted, and said lightly, "Can you escape? Obediently leave it to me." As soon as the words fell, Zanyu turned into a ray of sword light piercing the sky, piercing its entire body in an instant, spilling a large amount of blood all over the ground, and the body that had just jumped fell deeply to the ground. Zhang Heng looked at the air vent behind him, and punched the upper part of the cave. Suddenly, the whole cave shook violently, and a rock fell from above, blocking the air vent immediately. Li Yuqin was taken aback. If Zhang Heng punched him again, the whole hole might collapse. Zhang Heng was also a little worried, and he pulled Li Yuqin quickly to the Fengsheng beast and said, "This monster is called Fengsheng beast. It is immune to both physical and legal methods. It survives the wind, and it is almost immortal. Don't look at it being seriously injured by me. Even if it is dead, it can be resurrected, so it is perfect to be used as a guardian spirit beast, so try to sign a contract with it now." Li Yuqin's eyes immediately lit up when he heard the words. He was immune to both material and law, and he could be resurrected. This is simply the perfect guardian spirit beast. Okay, let me try. After saying that, she immediately opened her mouth and bit the finger of her right hand, dripped a little blood on the beast, and then drew a symbol in the void. After a while, a strong light came out, and Li Yuqin excitedly said, "Zhang Heng, I succeeded." Chapter 29. So fast. Zhang Heng was slightly surprised. After looking carefully, he found that the fatal wound of the wind beast had slowly healed, and the healing speed was unimaginable. At this moment, the Fengsheng beast exhaled a long and rough breath from its nose, but it didn't dare to look at Zhang Heng, and hid behind Li Yuqin threateningly and cowering. It looked like he had signed a contract with Li Yuqin. As expected of an S-level talent, even a quasi-legendary beast like Fengsheng beast can easily sign a contract. Try it. See if this windborne beast can be controlled by you. Zhang Heng looked up and down, and asked curiously. Li Yuqin smiled and said, "Don't try it. The system interface of Yushao has come out. It can't be wrong. I signed a contract of equality and symbiosis with it. Both parties belong to equal status. I can't force it to do something, otherwise affinity will decrease, which will affect the contractual relationship." Zhang Heng rubbed his chin and said, Why do I think it's more reliable to sign a slave contract with this guy? After all, no matter how hard this guy abuses him, he seems to be fine. However, Fengsheng Beast seemed to understand it, and opened its mouth to roar at Zhang Heng, as if expressing its dissatisfaction. Li Yuqin touched the fur on its body and said, Zhang Heng, don't scare it. In fact, it is still an infant, similar to our human infants, and cannot withstand being frightened. Zhang Heng opened his mouth and said, is he so big and still a baby? Li Yuqin shook his head and said, I don't know about that. It should be related to the recovery of spiritual energy. It seems to have mutated in the past few days. It awakened to become a wind beast. Before that, it seemed to be just an ordinary wind raccoon. Thinking of its talent, Zhang Heng said, it can also fly in the air, right? Li Yuqin nodded and said, yes, it has a talent called Yufeng, and it can easily walk against the wind, and it can also grow wings to fly, and can retract the wings on the ground, which is very special. Zhang Heng couldn't help shaking his head and sighed softly, so this guy is really a perfect guardian spirit beast. He is immune to physical and magic, can be resurrected, and can fly. Basically, he has no weaknesses. It's okay, but there are still weaknesses. Li Yuqin has been stroking the fur of the Fengsheng beast, and seems to be extremely satisfied with the beast. After chatting for a while, Zhang Heng suddenly said, do you feel better? Why don't we go back to the city to recuperate? Okay. Li Yuqin naturally had no objection. After a night of torture in this cave, she was already very weak. If it wasn't for the appearance of Zhang Heng, she felt that she would not be able to hold on for long. Not long after, 2 people and 1 beast stepped out of the cave. The Fengsheng beast suddenly trembled, and the back of the cyan body suddenly opened 2 huge fleshy wings, and there were also light cyan fur on the fleshy wings, and the light cyan luster could be faintly seen, making it look extremely handsome. The Fengsheng beast took the initiative to lower its body and lower its wings, as if inviting Li Yuqin to go up. Li Yuqin said, Zhang Heng, do you want to come with me? After finishing speaking, she did not forget to add, I have never sat down before, and I am a little afraid of falling. Zhang Heng thought for a while and said with a smile, okay, I just want to experience it too. The Fengsheng beast's body trembled slightly, as if it was a little afraid of Zhang Heng, but because of Zhang Heng's pretentious power, he had no choice but to let him climb on his back. Spreading its wings, the Fengsheng beast flew against the wind in an instant, and its speed was even faster than Zhang Heng's speed against the sky. Zhang Heng secretly thought, fortunately he used Zanyu to stop it before, otherwise it might not be able to catch it again if it ran away. In a blink of an eye, Linhai City was in sight. However, the guards inside and outside the city walls let out panicked exclamations. Warning! Warning! Unidentified creatures appear in the sky above Linhai. Unidentified creatures appear in the sky above Linhai. Request air support. Request air support. The strong siren roared and spread throughout Linhai almost instantly. When countless nearby residents saw the huge figure of the windborne beast, they all showed panic. Judging from its size and the aura it exudes, it can be said that the Fengsheng beast has completely surpassed the general king-level beasts. How can such a level of beasts be resisted by manpower? If such a one were to come, the entire Linhai city would be in disaster, right? Zhang Heng also guessed that this would be the case, and immediately jumped off the back of the Fengsheng beast, landed on the sky above the city wall, and said, Don't worry, everyone. This is a guardian spirit beast of a friend of mine. It is not a fierce beast, and it will not hurt people. Don't worry, everyone. You are Zhang Heng. Immediately, soldiers on the city wall recognized Zhang Heng. No way, Zhang Heng's deeds have spread throughout Linhai City in the past few days, almost to the point where no one knows about it. From ordinary people to city guards, almost no one knows the existence of Zhang Heng. In the current regional prestige list, Zhang Heng still ranks first, far ahead of second place Sujianhe by several thousand points of prestige. It is no exaggeration to say that Zhang Heng is already the well-deserved #1 powerhouse in Linhai City, loved by all soldiers and citizens. When hearing Zhang Heng talking about the guardian spirit beast, someone immediately exclaimed, as expected of Linhai's #1 expert, he can even subdue such a terrifying spirit beast, really amazing. With Zhang Heng here, our Linhai City will surely be as strong as gold. All the soldiers on the city wall exclaimed in amazement. Zhang Heng could only smile wryly, but he couldn't explain much, saying, "Let's turn off the alarm first, so as not to cause panic among the citizens." "Okay, I'll go and lift it immediately." As he spoke, the soldier saluted Zhang Heng and said, "Welcome Second Lieutenant Zhang back to the city." "Second Lieutenant?" Zhang Heng showed surprise. The soldier said without hesitation, "Yes, your appointment has been announced. I heard that it is the second lieutenant rank specially approved by the high-level military headquarters. Congratulations to Second Lieutenant Zhang." "Okay, thanks." Zhang Heng nodded slightly, turned around and jumped onto the wind beast again, only to hear the siren sound again. "Attention all citizens, the unknown creature appearing above the city is the guardian spirit beast of Zhang Heng, the #1 powerhouse in Linhai, and it will not hurt anyone. Please don't panic. Please. Don't panic." On the back of the Fengsheng beast, Li Yukin smiled and said, "Zhang Heng, I didn't expect your prestige in Linhai to be so high. Should I also call you Second Lieutenant Zhang in the future?" Zhang Heng shook his head and said, "Stop teasing me. Multiple titles are equivalent to more responsibilities, which is related to the safety of the entire Linhai. I'm afraid I can't afford it. Let's go back to the emergency shelter first." In a blink of an eye, the huge body of the windborne beast landed in the open space in front of the refuge, and immediately attracted countless people to watch. The broadcast just now naturally attracted the attention of countless people, especially after hearing that it was Zhang Heng's guardian spirit beast. Almost everyone immediately dispelled their fear of this giant beast. Who is Zhang Heng? Now he can be said to protect the existence of thousands of people, not to mention accepting only a guardian spirit beast. Even if he accepts a divine beast as a spiritual pet, they will believe it. Brother Zhang. Brother Zhang. Second Lieutenant Zhang. As soon as Zhang Heng landed on the wind beast, a crowd of people surrounded him immediately. Naturally, Zhang Shui and Chen Zimo were at the forefront, followed by Zhao Lian and Wu Changjian, and the others were curious people. Chapter 30. Zhang Heng smiled slightly at Zhang Shui and Chen Zimo. Only then did Zhang Shui and Chen Zimo notice Li Yukin walking down behind Zhang Heng. "Miss Qin!" Both of them exclaimed loudly at the same time, and rushed towards Li Yukin. Zhang Heng said, "You two take good care of Sister Qin. She suffered a little bit yesterday and hasn't had a good rest until now. Go and get her something to eat. It's best to make some soup for her to nourish her." Chen Zimo nodded again and again. "Okay, I'm going to make soup now." After dealing with Sister Qin's matter, Zhao Lian strode over, looked at the huge body of the wind beast in surprise, and said, "Brother Zhang, you've only been out for more than an hour, and you made this big one for us in a blink of an eye." The guy came out and said, "Do you have any surprises for us? So that my brother and I can also have a mental preparation." Zhang Heng smiled wryly and shook his head. "Where is there any surprise? This guy is actually not my guardian spirit beast, but Sister Qin's. I just happened to bring her back." Wu Changjian looked back in surprise at Li Yukin not far away and said, "You mean this girl?" Zhang Heng nodded and said, "Yes, she has awakened a very rare talent for controlling beasts, and she has gone through untold hardships to subdue this guardian spirit beast. In the future, the defense of our Linhai city may depend on Sister Qin and this spirit beast woolen cloth." Wu Changjian was very excited and said, "Good. With this beast, it is stronger than thousands of troops." Second Lieutenant Zhang, you have made another great contribution this time. Thinking of the military rank, Zhang Heng couldn't help asking, "What's the matter with this second lieutenant? Is the military rank a bit high?" Wu Changjian chuckled and said, "It's not big at all, it's several ranks lower than me, but it's one rank higher than Zhao Lian. From now on, you can just talk to him and give orders directly. You don't need to call him brothers and sisters, understand?" Zhao Lian couldn't bear it any longer, and said, "Battle Commander, you will also promote me to a second lieutenant if you promise. You can't say nothing." Zhang Heng had a little confidence in his mind. This second lieutenant should be slightly higher than a squadron leader like Zhao Lian, and his rank is almost the same as that of a captain. Wu Changjian ignored Zhao Lian's complaints, and said, "Second Lieutenant Zhang, should you be free now? We need to hold a brief meeting, and we need you to attend." Zhang Heng hesitated for a moment. "Will it be a troublesome meeting? I have never participated in such an important meeting. Will it be messed up?" Wu Changjun didn't hide anything. It's about the arrival of strange monsters from the sky in 2 days. Now that the world has changed drastically, it is difficult to deal with this situation with our military's current force. We have to ask you powerful people for help, and you have more say in this than we do, and we intend to hear from you, heavenly strange demon. Zhang Heng also murmured. In fact, he has been worrying about this since yesterday, wondering what the strength of the alien monsters that will appear in 3 days will be. But there is no doubt that the whole world will inevitably usher in another large-scale killing, which is definitely unavoidable. After thinking about it, Zhang Heng nodded slightly. Okay, I will attend this meeting. Not long after, Zhang Heng followed Wu Changjun and Zhao Lian into the city hall. It was the first time for him to enter an important government site, so he couldn't help being a little surprised. At this time, the three of them entered a spacious conference hall, and a middle-aged man in his 40s stepped forward and said, "Battle Master Wu, is this the legendary hero Zhang Heng?" The middle-aged man was dressed in a Chinese tunic suit and looked upright. He was the mayor of Linhai City, Zhao Qisong. Zhang Heng naturally recognized Mayor Zhao, and he was often seen in the news on weekdays. Zhang Heng hurriedly said, "I've met Mayor Zhao." Zhao Qisong nodded and said, "Sure enough, a hero is born as a boy." In this catastrophe, Zhang Shaoxia took the lead and saved the people from the fire and water. He is really a role model for my generation. Zhang Heng couldn't help getting goosebumps all over his body. He really didn't get used to the officialdom, so he hurriedly said, "Mayor Zhao, you are too good for nothing. This is what a kid should do." Zhao Qisong smiled and said, "With such a mentality, you can live up to your youth? Battalion Commander Wu, everyone should be here, right? Shall we start now?" Wu Changjun nodded, and said, "I have already summoned all the top 10 people in the prestige list, including Zhang Heng, who is number 1 in the prestige list, and finally came. This time, the meeting against the alien monsters coming in 2 days has officially started." With a movement of Zhang Heng's eyes, he also found Su Jianhe and Su Yufei, 2 brothers and sisters. Su Yufei blinked at Zhang Heng, as if signaling him to come over, and Su Jianhe also nodded and smiled at Zhang Heng. Zhang Heng was naturally not polite, and sat next to Su Jianhe. All the participants in the vicinity looked at Zhang Heng in surprise, obviously very curious about him. As a legendary hero who ranks first in the prestige list and is spoken of by many people, everyone is still extremely curious about him. Zhang Heng couldn't help but also looked at the other people, and found that each of these people looked either powerful or imposing, and he could tell from a glance that they were quite accomplished in martial arts. One of the men was even more rare to Zhang Heng's attention. He was about 50 years old and looked rather short in stature. He had a hooked nose and deep-set eyes, giving him an unfathomable feeling. Beside him are 2 strong men, tall and burly, and Kong Wu looks extraordinary, and they are masters of perennial body training. Not far from Su Yufei was a man with a scar. Although his figure was not as exaggerated as those 2 strong men, he was also extremely tall. He exuded an extremely dangerous aura, like a murderer who had been licking blood from a knife for a long time. All in all, none of them are good stubble. Wu Changjun also seemed to be worried that Zhang Heng didn't know this group of people, so he introduced, "For the convenience of the next meeting, let me introduce each other to everyone." As he spoke, he pointed to Zhang Heng and said, "This is our number 1 Linhai expert Zhang Heng. I have already introduced it just now, so I won't repeat it." As he said that, he pointed to Su Jianhe's siblings and said, "This is also our young hero in Linhai City Su Jianhe, who is currently 2nd on the reputation list, and next to him is Su Yufei, who is 3rd on the reputation list." Next was the man with the scar not far from Su Yufei, and said, "This is the 3rd person on the prestige list Zhao Gan. Linjie." Su asked, "The Lu brothers, Lu Gang, and Lu Meng. The last 2 are Qin Yuera and Li Qingfeng." Qin Yuera was the only woman besides Su Yufei. The relationship between Li Qingfeng and Qin Yuera seems to be very unusual. They are not far from each other, and they seem to be dressed in similar clothes. Su Wen was the old man with a gloomy and deep face. Linjie is a young man with a handsome face, giving people a rather mature feeling. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.